Good afternoon and welcome back to the SMITE Pro League. I'm still Tom Banninger. That's still Taco, and this is still an exciting afternoon. Of course, at home, make sure to catch all the updates on the Neo Olympus patch, the offering patch, as I like to call it. But one down and one to go. The Pittsburgh Knights take the last set 3-0. E-United, despite their new addition, could not bring home the game. So as we look forward to LG versus SSG, it's an interesting one. The hometown heroes, they've got to find a win.
Yeah, we had an interesting morning already so far, but this space station Luminosity set has definitely caught my attention, Tom. And I just gotta say, for me, this feels a lot like Space Station's final opportunity to really prove themselves as more than just a bottom of the SPL or even middle of the pack team.
I use the phrase litmus test a lot. This is not just a pop quiz. This is not the SATs. This is the LSATs. If SSG fail this one, they're in dire straits. I said it on Esports Weekly. If something doesn't happen here, something drastic has to happen because this squad should be performing better, and they're just not, Taco.
I think a big issue with that as well has just been the overlying fact that a lot of these members are just hard traditional players.
Yeah.
If you ask who's going to be, like the best kind of a mirror or like hard traditional guardians, JeffHindla is your guy. BaRRaCCuDDa, he's your hunter all the way through. And same thing, I think, for Venenu in the mid lane. But this meta is just so versatile as far as what gods you can actually bring forward. And I think that has posed so many different problems for Space Station because they just struggle, I think, to really adapt throughout the draft. But the assistance of Alpha Jackal definitely made an impact in their last performance.
Exactly, and that's really what I'm hanging on to here because everything you said is very true, and you left out two other players on the team, and I think those have been the shining lights. Aquarius right here on the Kuzenbo, this pick alone is exactly going to the conversation we're having where he's a little bit less traditional, and he's been the guy to stand up for SSG. He's been their star player despite the fact that he doesn't have nearly as many stripes on his uni. And then andinster, one of the guys who has been as traditional can be, has also been bringing out some of the oddball picks as well.
Something else that I've noticed, though, is that Aquarius has oftentimes been the focal point for a lot of the teams that Space Station play against because teams have recognized the fact that if they can shut down the solo lane, that not only prevents Aquarius from taking off and being an active threat throughout team fights, but then you're also putting andinster behind as like a passive result. And whenever you can get 2 for 1, I mean, you're going to look for that every single time at a competitive level.
Hey, that is absolutely what I'm talking about. Path to burn every single time, so 2 for 1s. But when we're looking at LG versus SSG specifically, you mentioned that people tend to look towards that solo lane with Aquarius. Do you think LG are going to continue that, or will they look towards adapting? Or, excuse me, Edison.
Well, I think the first things about Luminosity is that molluskk is one to definitely try and play his own game, and much like we were just highlighting how andinster has oftentimes been kind of a make-or-break instance for Space Station, I think that the same could be said for the rookies of Luminosity. molluskk has looked relatively consistent, and I think that consistency factor is very important for such a new-coming player to the Pro League.
I agree. Well, from rookies to veterans, we've got BaRRaCCuDDa, an interview with him. Let's see what John Salter has to say.
All right, standing by with BaRRaCCuDDa. Barra, we haven't even started. Why are you laughing already?
Words don't have any value.
Oh my goodness, this interview just took a dark turn right off the bat. Well, try and use some words that do have some value. How are you guys feeling? Are you feeling loose still?
Yeah, we're feeling great.
How about against Luminosity in particular? I mean, this is a team that has had some pretty good early games. Sometimes, that's where you guys have your strong points as well. How do you think that'll play out?
I honestly think they're a really good team, and we are not taking this set lightly at all because obviously we've been struggling. So we're going to come in and play our best.
I think that, people have been watching you and Jeff and the rest of these guys for so long. They've been through the ups and downs. You guys are on a down right now, as you mentioned, but you still seem to be in pretty good spirits. Why do you think that is?
Honestly, we're all really good at losing. And when you lose so much, you kind of become numb to it. So you can kind of keep your positive attitude and positive mindset, even if you are still joking around and having a good time.
So lose more so that when the winning happens, it feels different? Is that the plan?
Exactly.
Oh, well, there's the plan. Plan already laid out. Space Station's been losing, so now they're going to win. So it's going to be easy for them. Good luck, Barra. We'll throw it back to you on the desk.
A little bit of fun there. I don't know how to categorize that because
Well, to be fair, Bear had a pretty rough day in ranked yesterday, man. I'm not gonna lie. Things are looking awfully grim for the man there. So he's got to get some kind of a W today, right? Like,
well, we'll see. Like he said, I mean, across the way, LG's a strong team. Maybe compare at the lower end of things, but SSG find themselves there as well. Luminosity, a team with a little bit more rookie potential here, like you mentioned. molluskk in the jungle has been very exciting, and we've seen a couple of other things. You've actually yourself have been very high on LG. What is it about this team particularly that makes you so excited?
I really think that they are an undervalued team or an underestimated team by a lot of the public, not necessarily by a lot of the pro league. I think that as far as the pros are concerned, I mean, these guys all get a chance to play against each other. They all get a chance to talk to each other and kind of discuss, who's looking good, who's, not looking as good. And Luminosity, I think, has always been one of those teams where they're going to bamboozle you from time to time and take scrims off of teams that you wouldn't expect.
Sure.
And I think that the fact that Luminosity can stray so far into the unconventional and not lose themselves in the process is a big part of the reason why this team can pose such a heavy threat to other teams with more established members.
I mean, they live down there in the unconventional. molluskk might be the most conventional player, and he has a very roundabout way of thinking about the game himself, to be honest with you. But whenever you've got players like Kiki on your team, you're going to start seeing some of those strange picks.
I think it's also just partially the fact that Luminosity are so eager to try and prove themselves.
Right.
So that level of ambition in newer members like molluskk, like Joshy, kind of gives this team as a whole a really big drive to, even in circumstances where the game doesn't look like it's going to wind up in their favor, they're still always constantly discussing, okay, well, where can we improve for next time? And it's that level of positive mindset that I think has really helped out this team.
That's something I love that you said that, because that's something I've been saying for a long time with the squad. You've got Kiki who has done it on things like Oxygen Supremacy, but never really reached that upper echelon. Xaliea, who was once there and has fallen. He's kind of the has-been, if you will. You've got Oceans, the guy that never really did it. And a lot of people, there's chips on their shoulders. And so I'm with you.
It's like they made it into their pro league debuts, but never to that high-end level of success where you're in the top 3 teams. Well, Kiki was for, a brief stint.
Kiki and Xaliea have done it, but never really stayed there. There's so much to prove for these LGs guys for
it's
sure.
tough to stay on top. I think that's really what it all boils down to, is that if you're winning, sometimes it's bad to be winning for too long. That's why you see teams like Dignitas even getting concerned when they're like, well, we just can't stop winning. I don't know what to do. But hey, you got to learn from somewhere, and I think that Luminosity is definitely a team that's very open to discussion with each other.
Well, they're open to discussion with us as well. Mid laner Oceans, let's check in.
All right, standing by with Oceans, the mid laner for Luminosity. Oceans, it's been a while since you guys have played, a couple weeks. Has that downtime, do you think, benefited you?
Yeah, we got a lot more practice in. We've been team bonding and such, just hanging out together. It's been a good time.
What do you think is the difference maker for you guys? Because game 1, you guys always seem to do really, really well, and then game 2 usually falls a bit by the wayside. Have you been working on your game 2s yet?
Usually our game 2s, we just try something just out there, something we think is fun. I think we're just going to tone down on that, just stick to the basics that we've been practicing.
Space Station on the other end, they haven't been looking their best as of late. They're coming off that 3-0, that reverse sweep sort of against E United. Do you think this is a good time for you guys to catch them while they're vulnerable?
Well, they actually got a new coach, right? So they've been practicing with them for a while. So I don't think they'll look too bad. I think they should be improving, honestly.
You guys have also looked pretty good, though. I think that the big thing for me is that your early game has typically been pretty strong, and their early game has typically been pretty strong. Do you feel like that's going to be a big point of contention, or if it goes late, do you think you're still favored there?
I mean, their late games haven't looked too great. I don't know if they tighten them up. Personally, I think our late games have looked pretty solid, in practice at least. So it should be in our favor, I'd say.
Before I let you go, I do have to mention, you were playing Zeus like week 2 or whatever it was. Everyone's kind of jumping on the bandwagon now. I just wanted to thank you personally for getting it started here in the SPL.
No problem. No problem.
Easy for us, the Zeus players, right here, me and him. Good luck, man. Good luck to Luminosity, and we'll throw it back to you on the desk.
One good-looking Zeus player there. The other was aggro. Great stuff to hear from what Oceans is thinking. But at the end of the day, I think that Oceans is one of the more cerebral players in the league, and I always like to hear kind of what he has to say. Also, shout-outs to the round glasses. Round glasses gang.
I'm more personally impressed by the fact that he manages to maintain that like Super Saiyan hair without like any product in
The
it.
like casual, I woke up like this coif,
But I
he,
didn't.
He definitely spent 20 minutes. Yeah, we know. We see what's
But
going
I
on.
respect it
Oh,
greatly because it
oh,
looks
yeah.
awesome. So
I mean, yeah, you're the one
No
sitting
hating
up here wearing your
whatsoever.
Versace. Of course, you gotta respect it. The fashionista, obviously. But Oceans has more going for him than just his good look, folks. We'll see how he can play here, and if he'll pick up that Zeus that Aggro mentioned. So P's and B's, pretty please, as we get into SSG versus LG. This one should be interesting. I'm expecting standard bans for the most part.
I think for the most part you can kind of expect, well, Zeus already
The Z-Man Senior.
being taken away. And this is where I think competitive nature gets to be a little bit more fun when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the
yeah.
picks and bans. And you know the matchup well enough to understand that you want to take away key components of different drafts.
I mean, like I said, I was like, yep, here we're going to see standard bans, and then right away the first one is a direct respect ban at Oceans and what he's been able to do for his team with Zeus.
I think also Space Station, with the fact that they're in that first pick position, trying to maybe strong our Luminosity into making a decision between Merlin or Arthur. Personally, I wish Luminosity would just not choose to ban either or.
Yeah, I
Give
agree.
up either Arthur or the Merlin. I think that whether it's Molluskk or Xaliea, one or the other can definitely play the King Arthur well, or excuse me, the Camazots into the King Arthur well enough that
Right.
it wouldn't necessarily be as much of a threat. Again, though, this is kind of just a guesstimation. I had a lot of fun picking the brains of both of these teams, though, waiting for that Pittsburgh Knights United set to end, and it was really interesting kind of getting to understand where these two teams' perspectives differ. And I think for Space Station, Oceans hit the nail right on the head. I mean, they really don't enjoy that mid to late game area where the enhanced fire giant
Right.
dance starts to come about.
This was really, I really like this picks ban phase from SSG. You can tell immediately the difference that Alpha Jackal's having. Neither positive nor negative, just different. Maybe later we can change that and say it was positive or negative. But SSG used to take a very meta approach to picks and bans. These are the bans and the picks that have been very successful. Let's look at them. And this time around, this is a very opponent-specific approach. You get rid of the Zeus and the Circuit, which have been wildly successful for LG, and the little success that they have seen. And Ratatoskr has been the follow-up choice. And LG generally perform well when their jungler performs well, and their jungler generally performs well early on characters Ratatoskr and Circuit. So SSG this time have completely turned around and are looking directly at their opposition.
I'd like to see an Achilles or Bologna even
Same.
for Aquarius here, since that Ratatoskr has already been solidified for Space Station. I think just being able to drop so much immediate early game pressure could cause a lot of issues wherever this Muzen Cobb winds up. It could be mid lane for Oceans. Oceans, once upon a time ago, did used to be a hunter player. I mean,
Yep.
that I think was his traditional priority role. So it's not like he's completely incapable of playing the hunters. I'm pretty sure he still remembers how to hold left click. But if this is an AMC more intended for the duo lane, I still like that aspect as well, because duo, I think, is kind of difficult for a Ratatoskr to consistently punish gank. I think that if you invest too much time looking for those early game rotations, that could possibly allow for Luminosity to find a strong response elsewhere and just look to control the solo side of the map.
Certainly a big deal. Certainly giving that one thought. Geb. I like the Geb pick into the Fenrir. That shield can do a lot when Fenrir is trying to deal some damage and show up on the other side. Xbalanque, Geb, and Ratatoskr will be the first choices here for Space Station Gaming. On the other side, LG opt for a Muzen Cobb, Fenrir, and the Chronos. So one of those basic attackers will wind up in the mid lane.
Can be a little bit of a slow ramp-up time, though, for a Xbalanque Geb duo lane. And that is where I think Space Station are going to have to really be careful in terms of just making sure that they're not overextending or over-aggressing if they're trying to prioritize buff invades. Although I don't really see that being the case with the dual lane being Xbal and Geb, because it's just kind of tough, I think, to look for buff secure when both of those gods have a kind of difficult time with that. But andinster on this Ratatoskr, I want to see a heavy pressure mid lane pick and solo lane pick to complement this Rat. Right now, I'm just not really feeling that early game presence vibe that I initially thought would come about because of the rat.
I got to agree. Xbalanque and Geb, though, as strong, as weak as they are for the rest of the composition that we haven't seen yet, so who knows. They're very strong for the dual lane players here. We were talking about how traditional Jeff and BaRRa are. Xbalanque and Geb, it's one of the more traditional dual lanes. Sit back on your tower, slowly farm up, and then at 25 minutes, just crit people in the brain for a zillion. So have Geb shield alongside. Like, yeah.
It's evident, though, that Space Station don't want to have to worry about Kiki's Ganesh. Kiki has had some awesome performances on that Ganesh.
This character, though, Taco, Xing Chen, I've been done waiting for this character. This character is absurd. I'm outright surprised that we haven't seen more of him, and it doesn't surprise me that Kiki's bringing him out.
Well, Xing had a couple of issues for a while there, so he had to take a little bit of a timeout from the playing field. But now that he's back in action and ready to rumble, Luminosity not going to hesitate much longer and look to just bring out the Xing. I like the control that a Xing 10 can provide, but I'm not sure that Luminosity have enough lockdown potential just yet between the Fenrir and Xing 10 alone. And I also have a tendency to believe that this Xing 10 might even be for Xaliea.
Yeah, I was also going to bring that out. It could be a solo lane Xing Chen. I'm almost expecting it to be a solo lane Xing Chen. But Fenrir and Xing Chen, so it's interesting. You're right. They don't bring all of the control themselves, but I think their control, and it's weird how you have to sort of rate stuns against each other or crowd controls. You have to use beads on Ragnaros. You have to use beads on Xing Chen ult.
Also, this might even be a Geb solo pick for Aquarius as opposed to a Terra solo. And if it is Geb solo and Terra Xbalanque, I think that it does provide a little bit more threat early on for this Ratatoskr and Raijin to play off of. Love that Raijin selection, though, for Venenu. I think that the Percussive Storm and the Taiko drums early on, or at least levels 5 through 9, are going to be really tough for Luminosity to try and fight into, because Luminosity are definitely relying a little bit more on melee range play in comparison to Space Station, where I definitely think that Space Station has a lot more opportunities to find the range advantage.
Got to agree there. Hun Batsinator chosen here for the jungle for LG. And up until Hun Bats, I had no idea where any character was going, and that's kind of LG's calling card. That's just how they're known.
Whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself now, man. Before we see the Kiki Hun Bats special, okay? I really would not put it past Luminosity. I can't stress it enough. This team is bizarre, and that is what really diversifies them so much so from everyone else.
I'm not sure about Kiki. Xaliea Hun Bats, on the other hand, is something we've seen, something he's played, something he's won professional level games with. I'm not guessing where anybody's going, but I am going to watch the game. LG, SSG, casters, bring us to game 1.
Thanks so much, Tom and Taco on the desk. And it's going to be me and Tolly bringing you the set between SSG and LG. And honestly, coming into this week, well, previously at the start of the year, I was like, well, this sort of game won't really be too good because LG expects to be there at the bottom, SSG, middle to top end. Instead, it's kind of a tale of, well, are LG better than we expect them to be? And is SSG really that bad?
I think both of these teams have better of a performance to show. 0-3 for LG, 1-4 for Space Station Gaming at the bottom of the totem pole. But with these picks and bans now concluded, they have good strategies coming into it. A lot of team fighting strategies. I love the Hun Bats coming out of LG for molluskk, but it's a little slow pace. I'm expecting andinster's Ratatoskr to pop off a little bit earlier, especially the way he played in his last set against E United with these early level 2 rotations where he started speed, red buff, purple.
But I think the one thing about that, Tolly, is as time goes on, people establish and recognize that. If we're recognizing it on the cast, then the players themselves should be aware of it. Xing 10, however, Kiki, it was not a shock to see it's Kiki on that Xing 10, because I think a lot of people may have thought we could have seen Xing in the solo lane here. Aquarius, Geb versus Fenrir.
Should favor Fenrir in the early game. However, as Aqua gets some more defensive items, he should be A-okay. It is a little surprising to see Xaliea the one on the Fenrir. He's generally known to be playing the Guardians, but no surprise that he starts with the Guardian's Blessing, thinking long term.
And there was a couple of changes that happened to Fenrir along the way. Obviously, the fact that he was very support-orientated for a while, but his damage has been adjusted slightly in
That's
different
right.
areas, which makes him a little bit viable elsewhere.
The Brutalize, the third ability that can now splash onto minions without full stack runes, that is going to be applied onto 15% physical power scaling instead, making it just even more amplified damage.
Jeff rotating over to this left-hand side, trying to strip away this red buff if they can find it here in the trade with Kiki. And Kiki actually going to be under pressure because of the horrific emblem. Shell has been popped, and Ocean's first attack on towards him was blocked by that shell, as Andy did follow up with the acorns. Not enough for a kill yet, but pressure early from Space Station Gaming.
Even though LG got the red buff down, they're not going to be able to apply it onto Oceans. He got zoned away. So Kiki's like, all right, fine. I guess I'll just be a Xing Chen with the red buff. Not able to confirm their own purple buff, unfortunately.
I'm expecting to see a lot of Xing 10 as this season progresses. I think the changes to him and the corrections have really helped him out quite a bit, Tolly. And he brings a lot to the fray in terms of control.
And I'm surprised that Splice wasn't the team to really bring out Xing Chen, knowing that Divios and Aurora like that kind of style. They brought it out in Season 5 quite often, but they always surprise us with that Hades pick instead. LG also known for their creativity when they ran the Zeus Ganesh combo, which found at least one game victory over E United in week number 3 and then Dignitas, until finally teams were like, I guess we're going to have to start banning these out.
Well, the biggest main player we've seen of the Geb meta in solo really was Devios and Splice overall. But this time it's going to be Aquarius piloting it here, and at the moment with the Guardian's blessing on his character so far, he's no surprise to see him sat under the tower, especially when you say this matchup goes to Fenrir in the early game.
That's right. Fenrir's looking for poke. He has Seething Howl for the sustain. He's going to be looking to reset his Unchained stun if he can land it onto Aqua. So there's no reason for Aqua to really leave his tower line. Just let the minions kill each other, let the tower kill the minions so he can get those Guardian's blessing stacks. The only issue for Aqua is going to be that Xaliea should be able to control most of the Totem of Coups.
Talk about control mid lane, I mean, there's an AMC there for Oceans, and we'll see how that works out for LG this game. Because AMC is one that can flex to the mid lane just because of the control with the Honey, his ability focused in the early game. You can't deny his auto attack damage though, but it's generally abilities on AMC you're looking at.
And considering that Ocean's piloting the Muzen combo, I'm not surprised that he opted to pick that one for himself, while Joshy, known for his Chronos play in his more natural habitat. So Ocean's back in Season 3, former 100 player, now into middle as well, flip-flopping between those two roles. He's very comfortable with this Muzen combo.
Always in the early game, you're looking at where the jungle pressure may or may not be, and molluskk at the moment is on this right-hand side around the time of the Totem Coup and the blue buff spawning, whereas andinster was looking towards the red buff, and now towards the purple too. Kiki's here, though, to try and deny that option and keep the pressure off. But BaRRa's not too worried, especially with Kiki being that low on mana, and actually, he's going to commit at level 5.
Oh, there goes the blink.
Okay,
and
boys.
The AoE not enough from andinster to find the kill. Really unfortunate for Space Station Gaming. Yes, Kiki's going to have to back, although he does stick around a little bit longer to receive that experience. But expending an ultimate, I don't think LG is really going to be taking advantage of that anytime soon.
No, not with it being the Darkest of Nights too. I mean, BaRRa would use that defensively, sure, within a reason, but it's more the Rising Jaggy to be after in the grand scheme of things there. So Kiki just slipping the noose ever so slightly there towards the tail end, but I did like the aggression.
Oh, I love the attempt. Space Station Gaming need to be looking for aggressive plays to get that early lead. I believe I remember the interview against E United saying how they can get the leads, but they just got to be able to play their leads a little bit better and not allow their leads to play them. And that's something that they struggled with in that set. So it's going to come down to how both of these teams find those early leads. And thus far, Space Station Gaming able to strip away 2 purple buffs in a row.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of an experience difference between the Hunters and the Guardians. BaRRa a little bit more so than Joshy in terms of experience now, but same can be said for Kiki over Jeff, and that's where the experience difference is as it stands. 5 minutes in though, pretty much all square, and is that an advantage for either side here?
I'm not sure, because it's still going to come down to jungle control. It's going to come down to the items that they pick up. Joshy probably building into this Warlock staff. We saw Emilito build it in the last set when he was playing the Chronos. Going for this more mid-game power curve could hurt his early game. I'm expecting BaRRaCCuDDa to really thrive if that's the case, especially with the global pressure andinster is going to provide.
And that's what I was thinking too, is the fact there's a Ratatoskr in the jungle, going for this Warlock staff over maybe Boots, potentially. The Boots rush that we've seen so many times sometimes. There's a lot of chase potential onto Joshy. He's going to have to watch his position a lot, but he does have Kiki there with him, and Kiki needs to be here as Andy has come back to this left-hand side again, looking towards the purple another time. molluskk, meanwhile, though, controlling the mid to right-hand side of the map.
Attempt number 3, successful for Space Station Gaming, constantly denying the purple buff. And without that penetration aura, that means that LG have to be a little bit more passive than they probably would have wanted to. Xing can make a lot of plays, but out of the support role, going Blink at level 1 is a little risky, so that shell actually came out huge, saving out Ocean's life.
Yeah, one thing about Xing 10 that a lot of people underestimate is that roar, that first ability. Not just because it's dot damage, but once you've maxed that out, it's 50% damage reduction onto the targets hit by that for the duration, which is insane when you think about it.
It's so obnoxious. Between the furious roar of Xing and the, the rising dawn of Khepri, also helping out your allies to mitigate some damage. Those two abilities, I think, are heavily undervalued, which is why I'm personally surprised we're not seeing more Xing in Season 6 with how methodical some of these SPL teams are playing.
I don't think it works as well against someone like Raijin, though, because he's very dot damage orientated. You know, like even Percussive Storm, even the Tycho drums, it's consistent damage, right? So all the burst isn't front loaded, so to speak. Whereas Kiki, you know, a Xing 10 looking for the front loaded characters, or a JeffHindla in the jungle.
Little bit of a trap. Fear no evil up in the air. JeffHindla gonna go down.
Eventually, Tony, you cursed it, Tony! How dare you! And now it's Luminosity on the run. BaRRaCCuDDa in range of molluskk. The Thunder Crash in will set up andinster for the kill. And JeffHindla, how dare you? How dare you think Jeff's gonna die there, Tony?
More like, how dare I expect a Terra to die with the reinforced Greaves, also having that Earth and Fury to mitigate some of LG's damage. It was just enough to really keep him alive. And now Kiki's in trouble.
The easy back gets punished by Venenu. He just saw the window of opportunity. Peek around the corner, even though the mini-wave's there, it's like, is anyone? Oh, hello! Picks up Kiki, so it's 2 kills to Space Station, and that's going to develop into this purple buff. Red buff is also taken down, or it might be available actually. Andy's over on that side now. He's already on the ground, I should say. And that gives Space Station a nice lead. And it's the 2 carries, two of the carries on Space Station that got the kills.
Christmas came early for Space Station in this first game, being able to defend their own red buff, find the picks on the defensive side. A difficult task to do when walking into a trap like that. You would expect JeffHindla to die so quickly, but the problem was that molluskk doesn't really have that much damage online yet. His Assassin's Blessing just now evolved, so he didn't have that extra penetration. I believe he only had the tier 1 version of the mace back then, so wasn't the easiest opportunity to kill even a level 5 or 6 Terra at that time.
Yeah, Jeff going to be fine for the time being then. Kiki's a little bit behind him. Ocean's rotating for these Oracles. Oracle's already down, however, though, going the way of Space Station. But BaRRaCCuDDa could be in trouble. Has to beads away from the whirlwind of rage and steel, but he can't get away from the overhand smash out of molluskk. First kill for LG in the bank.
A little surprised to see him going towards the left side of the map instead of towards his teammates on the south/eastern front, and that would have allowed maybe Jeff to pop that Earth and Fury to save BaRRaCCuDDa the same way that ultimate saved his own life. But either way, LG not deterred from trying to look for plays after that huge failure before.
Look at the builds coming through here, and it's 2 Blackthorn hammers that have sparked my attention. First of all, wait a second, Fear no evil from molluskk. Invading the red buffs, gets it away, and immediately leaves the fray, but also got the ult out of andinster there.
That's true. Good reaction from andinster. He wanted to confirm the red buff with through the Cosmos. That's why he landed. It wasn't even really trying to intend to land onto molluskk. A fight over the red buff, almost as powerful as a fight over the speeds.
There's a lot of fighting going on actually at the moment as Jeff and Andy going aggressive again into the jungle at the red buff. molluskk no ult, remember, neither does Andy. And molluskk will have to leap away. Darkest of Nights consumed there. The red buff was taken away. JeffHindla has that around it. Look at that. Just had a great game. He gets away from a kill, gets himself a team of 2 kills, and then gets a red buff.
You know what it was? He saw Kiki with a red buff earlier. He's like, hey guys, if Kiki can do it, I can too, right? And that's exactly what happened.
And then the purple stripped after the fact too. Right-hand side, Xaliea is going to be taking away the blue buff away from Aquarius if possible and trying to keep this Geb down a little bit. There's a small lead at the moment for this Fenrir, which is what you'd expect in the matchup, Tony.
That's right. 4 Totem of Coup, so 500 gold collectively from that one objective. LG would be behind if they didn't have that 500 gold advantage, but now they're feeling frisky as 10-minute mark Pyromancer spawns.
Has started up, but molluskk getting very low here, taking it right to the edge. Luckily enough, no Space Station gaming members around to try and contest that, so LG find a window, and they continue to abuse it on this right-hand side.
Look at LG's wards. I'm very impressed by those 2 wards under the tier 1 tower, right above the tier 2, to identify where everyone is rotating. Space Station Gaming had no idea this objective was even started. Can we look at the wards place? I'm curious how many LG have actually started out.
6 for Kiki and 4 for Xaliea. Xaliea buying 4 wards. Wow, solo lane is really popping with these wards these days.
When you're aggressive in the solo lane the way Xaliea has, not in terms of fighting Aqua, but in terms of looking for back camp steals, you have these small windows to drop those wards, and that's why you're seeing that one on the bottom right of that tier 1 tower from Space Station.
That's fair enough. Both supports at level 8 in the mid lane as it stands now. Venenu has Book of Thoth online and is nearly finished stacking that one up. As I say that, it's completed. I expect some penetration after the fact now. One thing I've noticed though, Tolly, is with this game so far, a lot of pressure from Andy and Space to the left-hand side. The start of the year to begin with, it looked like they were looking for solo lane pressure, but they've adapted and changed things up a little bit now.
Well, JeffHindla needs to adapt on how to get out of this sticky situation. Kiki's the one in trouble because Venenu is banging those drums.
In the sky is molluskk though, but JeffHindla's ultimate's still there and happy as Larry. He doesn't mind getting thrown around a little bit, especially with being Terra. He's tanky enough at this stage and does most of the work. I think Kiki just needs to change his target a little bit now. Obviously, Jeff's going to put himself out there, but
That's right.
you shouldn't take the bait all the time,
It's
right?
so hard to kill a Terra. It's almost unfair. So I don't fault Kiki for trying to look for a play, but it's just not working for 2 times in a row. The game plan needs to switch up.
He was trying to make a play and uses the monkey toss, but it jumped to Andy, and Andy just quickly wraps back round and finds the acorns. BaRRaCCuDDa's Rising Jaguar will get him the secure of the kill, and it's 4 kills for Space Station.
I think that was the 5th, maybe even 6th purple buff invade thus far. Kiki trying to keep his tier 1 mid tower alive. Venenu was like, so close, yet so far away. But as you were mentioning before, andinster's strategy deviating from focusing the solo lane into the dual lane, I think he was kind of leaning towards the Season 5 strategy and not making those adaptations towards the beginning of Season 6. But now that he's seen the other teams kind of adjust and play, he's been making those changes, trying to cater more towards BaRRaCCuDDa.
But the reason I say that is because we spoke to Adapting at the end of the last set, and he was talking about, well, it depends where the pressure is, right?
Sure.
But if you look at what LG have in terms of pressure on the map, Xalia's going to be overextended a lot with how Aquarius is playing this lane. You'd expect to see him camp in the solo lane with Ratatoskr, trying to punish the overextension of a Fenrir.
It's doable now that Aqua's level 12. He has a good amount of damage available with the pen boots and just the level of his abilities, and that could be a good combination. You've already done your damage in the dual lane, 5 purple buff invades in a row, but I think that by ganking the solo lane, you're kind of giving up the Gold Fury potentially, and that's not something Space Station want to do.
Fear no evil, again, pretty much used on cooldown by molluskk, and wisely so far, as he will get credit for the kill onto andinster. Remember, no beads available for Andy with going for that blink option.
That's right. He was level 12, but he didn't have an opportunity to back to base yet to pick that important defensive relic, a very important chain CC effect. Even though Cripple is undervalued, whenever you can follow that up with another initiation, that's going to be able to lock down most aggressive Blink junglers.
Kiki aggressed on by Jeff, but Kiki sniffed that out just in time and leaps away. Ultimate used again, this time round won't find a home, and now he's just staring towards 2 targets. Roots him in place, drums of war sounded, but Xaliea rotates and Venenu knocks him back straight away. They're waiting for Venenu's ult to wear off. Xalia's looking for the last bite and gets the beads.
The patience from both of these players. Xaliea holding on to that Ragnarok, Venenu holding on to the taiko drums. You love to see that kind of patience.
That really was like a dog at dinner time where it's like, wait,
yeah,
okay, now you can eat. And then he's like, okay, I'm going for it.
That was a good one. And not only that, what else was good was the communication from Space Station. At a first glance, I thought for sure Venenu was going to go onto Kiki with that ultimate, and then all of a sudden he turns his camera towards that right side mid-camp, knowing that Xaliea was about to jump over. Might have walked over a ward.
What happens next? Because it's Space Station Gaming actually at a deficit in gold as it stands right now. Is that gold really just down to that cheeky pyro earlier on?
It's the Pyromancer and then 6 Totem of Coups.
Oh yeah, the Coups.
So that's about 750 gold collectively there, and then another 500 gold from the Pyromancer.
So mainly the Coups, you're right. It's more than that than anything else, I would say. Especially with the dominance they've seen over on that right-hand side.
If you take away the Coups and the Pyromancer, Space Station would actually be ahead in the gold.
So they're losing a little bit on objectives, I guess, in one sense, in terms of coups and the Pyro on the right-hand side, but finding wins on the left, and the level discrepancy between BaRRa and Joshy is one of those small windows that you can see there. It's only a level difference, which same can be said for Aquarius versus Xaliea. But Pyro's up. Pyro could be down again.
I don't see anyone from Space Station even make a rotation. Aqua now thinking about it, but the time he gets there is already done.
Yeah, I think Kiki just showing presence in the mid lane there. He was right at the tower line almost as that minion wave came in. But Space Station Gaming on the left now trying to answer back, but there is a ward here. LG knows this is going on. molluskk on the way, kept in combat by Jeff, so he can't get in range. But as soon as he somersaults in, already in the sky, and he's waiting.
In the backline, landing onto molluskk, taking a lot of damage. Ocean takes out JeffHindla, but not until molluskk gets answered back.
Venenu's drums did pretty good work to keep Oceans away and whittle down Kiki's health bar, but the leaps avoid the stun from BaRRaCCuDDa's Darkest of Nights. Rest in peace, Xbalanque after the patch. But for now, Space Station Gaming can't get the Gold Fury. They did trade jungler for support and head straight back there, however.
And not only that, Kiki's too low to really come back into this without sacrificing his life. However, as I say that, he's kind of poking his head around the corner.
And then straight away he gets Aquarius' Cataclysm in the back of his, well, chest, because he doesn't have a head, and he will go down to Gold Fury to Space Station Gaming. They have the gold lead for now.
Even though Space Station Gaming are 1-4 in the standings, they are a veteran team that has the experience to understand when it's appropriate to go for the objectives like the Gold Fury. With all the action on the right side between the Pyromancers, they instantly, no hesitation, go for that Gold Fury. There's still a power spike waiting for Joshy to build up those Warlock staff stacks, and that allows BaRRaCCuDDa to tank up this Gold Fury, having plenty of attack speed with the Yobo, Ninja Tabai, lifesteal with the Devo Gloves. He's the one tanking it out, and it was all a bait because andinster is using that through the Cosmos as a satellite to see who's kind of coming. Once molluskk jumps in, he's no way he's getting out after that one.
And I think the one interesting thing to it is definitely the two jungle builds we've got going on here, because you look at andinster, he's gone for the tanky Ratatoskr, the sort of Pseudo damage, but also shred character, which is what he can do with decent CC. So he's going for a bit more of a tankier build with the Black Thorns and the shields, whereas molluskk, he's gone for the Relic Dagger here as well. He's really looking for cooldown to just spam these ultimates wherever possible.
Between molluskk and Kiki, they need to figure out ways to burn these beads. So that's why both of them are going for the Relic Dagger. I wouldn't be surprised if Kiki goes for a Blink in his second Relic slot, foregoing a potential sprint.
And it's not just the fact that I think Relic Dagger does give you a bit of cooldown reduction, it's also the fact that it reduces the cooldown of your relics, which means your blinks are up a little bit more often, your shells, or even your beats.
That's right. I believe it's 20, maybe 30 seconds total, so going from 120 to 90 seconds is very common to look for plays like that, especially when Purification beads are such a longer cooldown.
There you go. The movement speed as well is something that, you know, we spoke a lot about. You've been seeing the talk about Bumba's meta in the rank scene and in your casual games now. Well, movement speed is the reason for that, and that's why we see movement speed items getting purchased wherever possible. If you think about it, Talaria boots and that Relic Dagger for molluskk, he is going to be flying, let alone speed buff.
He's very fast, and it's important for him to pick up those Talaria boots against andinster that's playing Ratatoskr, because that acorn gives you 20% movement speed as opposed to the general 18% that you would get from normal boots. And the MP5 is never a bad thing that you can get from Talaria boots as well.
Love that little pick up on Xaliea for Xaliea here this game. He's going to be a little bit careful of Venenu in these engagements, not to get that to proc, but if you can get it to proc against Aquarius or JeffHindla, those two characters are going to be in short range when he looks to initiate, and that could cause some problems for the Space Station lineup.
If you can ever silence a Terra mid-dash to prevent the monolith explosion, that will just shut down her engage completely. It's very rare to see it work out that way, but that's why you pick up the Oncule for those rare instance cases.
So Joshy steps forward again towards the tower. He knows there was pressure coming, but he also knows he's getting a rotation out of LG. Xaliea teleports in, Kiki and molluskk wrapping around the side. Root knock up onto Jeff will slow them down, as he will get the beads out of BaRRaCCuDDa there, Kiki, and the Fear No Evil after the fact will push BaRRa into the wall, but not enough for a kill, and now the turnaround play is on. It's LG forced back for a second.
Aqua finally rotating in with his teleport, but Kiki's going to be the first victim of this engage. 5-on-4, Space Station Gaming going to use his gift to engage under the tower.
Blink Cataclysm will get the kill as well after the fact. Aquarius stepping up big where he was required most. This will be a tier 1 tower. I was saying tier 2 because I think they could look at that too here as well.
But the thing is, they have to figure out if they're going to sacrifice more than just the tier 1 mid tower. So that's why Aqua is not joining in on this left side siege any longer. He ensures the safety of his mid lane, and that's what makes Spacestation such a strong veteran team, where they understand some weaknesses and how to plug those holes.
But this is the window where we need to see Spacestation continue this, right? Like, they've set this up, they've got themselves in a good spot. It's where this is where they've been indecisive before and lost games because of it.
Yes, they are playing very reactionary. This is LG forcing the issue on the left side lane.
Yeah.
They were the ones just
It
running
was.
away. Spacestation were constantly running away. I mean, to be fair, I mean, you're not going to fight into a 4-on-5. Aqua was on the right side of the map, but because LG missed their window, Aqua's counter rotation was just a little bit more impactful.
I think that's a real big thing here, though, is that LG just forced it more than anything else. And I don't think they needed to, Tully.
I don't fault them because it was a 5-on-4.
Sure.
Like, if you're not going to win that fight, what fight are you really going to win? The problem was they couldn't really lock anyone down fast enough. If they had maybe just even half a second quicker to exploit BaRRaCCuDDa being that close to the tower line, or maybe even Venenu, that would have been their window to find those picks, but it just wasn't enough. Also, Kiki, when he uses ultimate, he got the relics from BaRRa and also the ultimate from Venenu, but maybe he could have just straight up zoned away JeffHindla.
Kiki in the mid lane, nearly got hit by the walls by Jeff, but he'll force him back for now. LG did take the pyro on that right-hand side again. It's actually a bit of gold, and also the mobility from base can be pretty useful for, you know, quick trips back there to get wards and such. But more importantly, Kiki looking for beads in mid. We'll find them out of Venenu. Jeff did manage to get the monolith down just halfway through that, and Terra's passive always comes into play there.
That's right, you just can't get displaced, and usually more often than not it helps. There are some rare instances where it does hurt you as a Terra player. Spacestation get the Primal Fury as Aqua just casually throwing out his ultimate in mid.
I think he was not necessarily as casual as you think, because A, is slowing them down, and B, is keeping them around to give Spacestation a window like that to try and make a collapse, but it didn't find a home, unfortunately. Got the idea, however. LG still grouped as 5 in mid, so is Spacestation, and SSG are going in.
Forced to retreat is molluskk on the left-hand side. Xaliea lands right on top of
shield.
Venenu, but a perfect gap shield keeping him alive.
And BaRRaCCuDDa picks up the pieces of Xaliea after the fact. That's the big key that LG are trying to play through here. Pop the beads and then follow up. But the problem is that Aquarius is waiting with these shields.
It was perfect opportunity. Aqua, despite not having the ultimate, he's still useful defensively with those Geb shields. A solo lane Geb, now at level 20 as opposed to maybe a level 15 Geb, would not have had the same of an impact shield.
Andy in the jungle just trying to clear up some camps. Molluskk will jump in on that, and Andy read it pretty well to throw the Acorns back in time and make sure Molluskk goes the right way back towards this tier 2 that he's now being hit on by BaRRaCCuDDa and a minion wave.
Still trying to defend this in a 4-on-5. LG don't want to give this up for free. JeffHindla going to find a couple of roots. Aqua shielding himself as Spacestation are trying to funnel LG in through that little corridor.
But as you saw, ult for ult exchange, Kiki was looking to try and bring Aquarius back to dangerous territory under the tier 2. Funny enough, I think if Aquarius was confident in the amount of damage he could do in his team already, he could have got himself thrown in and then ulted afterwards to maybe set up his team.
His shield was on cooldown,
It's a
so it's a
risky one.
little riskier. I don't mind it, but the way Spacestation have been playing so far, they haven't really taken many risks outside of invading the purple buffs for the first 10 to 12 minutes, sacrificing a couple of pyromancers along the way. But for the most part, it's been working out for them because their defensive strategy is kind of playing into LG, where LG is playing too aggressive.
One team is trying to force beads, the other team is trying to not lose beads and then reinitiate after. So far, though, it's about 4k gold lead for Spacestation Gaming now, as they start to turn their attention over to the right-hand side of the map. Fire Giant is definitely looming for both these two teams, but the window for the easier Fire Giant is wearing thin now into the final minute. It doesn't surprise me to see FG being done now.
Yeah, they don't want to wait for that extra protections and the damage, and maybe they just want to bait out a fight. Xalea's jump is down, going to get stunned out a couple times. Darkest of Nights coming through as well, but it's actually Kiki in trouble.
Kiki was trying to wrap around the back and he took a lot of damage, and Andy's there to go in after the fact. Kiki will still live though. Fenrir even from molluskk caused a lot of problems. Jeff takes a ton of damage from Oceans and Joshy there, but the Stinger getting dragged away from an AMC. That's awful. Luckily enough, Oceans will still get it, maybe? He's scared, he wants it.
Nah, he doesn't get it.
Greed, man.
It takes a little bit of time.
That's like a speed buff, a jungler trying to pick up the speed buff and like, well, I may die, but I want to pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's more about like picking up a red buff that gets invaded.
That's a good
on.
point, yeah.
More like a mid-mage that goes for it, because like junglers, they're usually very slippery. Mid-mages, not so much. But Space Station Gaming, they get a couple of important cooldowns. That Fear No Evil is not available. A lot of cooldown reduction, though, on molluskk. It will be up momentarily. The shell is down onto Kiki, though.
And that's the important thing, is what relics were really consumed there. And overall, it was a blink from Andy and the shell from Kiki. But more importantly, from Luminosity's point of view, Space Station don't get to slip in a cheeky fire giant before the enhanced one comes through. So now they're going to have to make sure the window of opportunity is a little bit bigger this time round. And as Aquarius and Xaliea continue trading with Joshy, BaRRaCCuDDa, and Venenu both in round 2.
Good juke from Venenu. Not going to get hit out by that time rift, but it's a collapse right on top of Aqua. He has the Cataclysm, though. You can't group up too much.
But he's a big old tanky target, and with Terra Ultimate Pop 2, it forces back SSG. Joshy, though, picks up Venenu. Joshy slips the net and gets 2. He takes out both carries on his own. He's looking at Aquarius now, who's trapped in the pit. Andy's having to come in to look for pressure onto Oceans, but they're all grouping up for Joshy.
Quadra.
That's a Quadra! And in the end, andinster will make sure that he's not a Penta this time round. But my oh my, Joshy just came out of nowhere. And SSG... oh no, oh no, oh no, it's happening again, Tolly!
We've seen this time and time again where Space Station are getting a little too overzealous in the late game, and some weird instant makes them collapse at the drop of a dime, and that was pure communication breakdown. Space Station Gaming didn't pay any mind to Joshy because of the ultimate from Kiki distracting everyone. They wanted to follow up from Aqua's Cataclysm.
Tier 2 tower falls on the right-hand side, and that evens the game up in terms of gold once more. Kills might be favouring SSG, but the last couple going to Luminosity's Joshy with 4 kills. He was 0-0-2 before that fight. And now look at him. This build is starting to come into its own, but this is what you expect from Chronos. We've not seen it a whole lot so far this year, Tolly, but it's one of the reasons we're seeing Chronos picked up.
That's right. Whenever you're trying to go for a double Hunter comp, Chronos just suddenly comes back into the meta. Fafnir or no Fafnir, doesn't matter. Chronos, with Accelerate, has plenty of attack speed. You just spam the rings, which he's doing between that between the Telekines and Demonic Grip. He's able to really make an impact in this late game, and now finally finishing his build with that Rod of Tahuti. If you thought he was doing a lot of damage earlier, just wait till you see him this next fight.
Xaliea leaping on andinster there, which isn't the greatest trade in the world. Honestly, I think he was looking to try and get rid of the Magi's Cloak, and does so, however, which is good enough for now. So a little bit less CC availability, well, defensive CC from andinster. A Space Station Gaming trying to take this Gold Fury. It is a Gold Fury, and at this stage, gold still matters, Tori, but you would have maybe liked an Oni or a Primal there if you were lucky on the spawn times.
There was some windows where LG could have capitalized off of that Quadra kill, maybe going for a Fire Giant, but instead they all backed after the Tier 2 tower, allowing Space Station to revive and being able to confirm this objective. So keeping the game very close still at the 28-minute mark.
And now we're just waiting for the next Fire Giant fight to initiate. Wall coverage at the moment is for LG. Just seeing what they're going to do. It looks like the pressure in mid for the timing.
Looking like Joshy is going to be able to show the replay here of this Quadra kill. Like, nobody was on him, and this was after he already kills BaRRaCCuDDa and andinster in the back line. He follows up onto JeffHindla, and like you can see the camera angles from all the melee characters. They're focused around the blue buff. They have no idea, or rather, they just have no attention to BaRRaCCuDDa in the back line that's getting pummeled.
Bit of a fight in the mid lane there. She saw Tier 2 tower was taken down, but the rest of the fight, you can see a couple of ultimates were consumed for now. The dance continues. I definitely want to watch that fight back again and a couple later on.
Sure.
Because how did he get there? I don't know where Joshy
That's
came
right.
from. He just picked up from the double kill there. But how did he even get in that position? Where did he come from?
He was low, so there was some damage being dealt onto him, but I'm assuming that was from andinster and BaRRaCCuDDa, maybe in a 2v1 situation. So maybe just Joshy straight up 1v2'd and then was able to clean up from there on out.
That's always the window you're looking for as a Hunter player, though, is you're looking for that window where it's like, okay, now I go, because if I do well in this, we could get quite a few kills, and Joshy recognized that window well that time.
And Joshy's not one to stray away from playmaking opportunities. He loves his Hachiman cavalry charges offensively, and this Chronos build with that amount of health from a fully stacked Warlock staff is going to allow him to go in, look for the rewind, which is what he did after he killed out BaRRaCCuDDa to get even closer to that blue buff cleanup.
Nice to be able to say Joshy's name a little bit. He's in a league where he's one of the newer rookies to the league in terms of pro play. He played in the minor league, but on a team that people wouldn't have really thought about him as the main staple. It was always Laz Jasper or Death Panther above him or mention more, but Joshy was part of that big roster that did good things throughout the year, and now finds himself on this LG spot where people were like, well, does he deserve it? Is he good enough?
Well,
he just got a quadra kill against Space Station Gaming.
Individual talent puts you on the map, but it's how you synergize with your team. LG looking for the offense now around this Fire Giant.
And the dance begins. For the most part, Xaliea will lead in the troops wherever possible. Quite tanky with this build that he's got for himself. Blink, Cataclysm from Aquarius, and he'll even shield himself to prevent some of this damage. Gets a shell out from Terra 2.
Going on to Venenu on the right-hand side. Aqua, though, very low, gonna get taken out by Xaliea, but not until andinster takes out a huge DPS of Oceans.
And he goes to the sky now, waiting to reposition. Will actually fall back for the time being now. Aquarius down, Oceans down. It's a trade, in my opinion, in favor of Space Station for now. In terms of kills, you know, a solo for a mid laner, big difference.
There's lacking DPS now. Oceans not having the Muzen for LG. Left-hand side, molluskk having to back to defend that Phoenix. It was a Gold Fury that was taken out. It wasn't the only Fury, so those were just regular minions. And at the 30-minute mark, this is when every lane for both sides are going to spawn 3 Gladiator minions.
But we can start to see the frustration for SSG again now, as they've had moments in this game when they were ahead and windows have fallen away, and now we're back in the same situation they found themselves in a couple of times here. LG, meanwhile, they've battled back into this one, Tolly. Like, they didn't start the greatest in the world for them, but they've done a good job of catching back up and staying in the race.
Yes, a lot of it in the early game came down to the Totem of Coups and the Pyromancer to keep themselves still relevant, and then that one quadra kill is still keeping them in the game as we're approaching the 32-minute mark, but they really need to not lose any of their backline carries if they're to close out this game, because they have the damage. Joshy and Oceans is popping off this game, but so is BaRRaCCuDDa. He's actually at the top of the damage charts.
Pyros respawn again. Not the biggest objective in the world. More importantly, there's a new Fury on its way relatively soon too. We'll see if there's a window to go for that. There's no one really on the side of Space that could even look to really split push. I guess andinster at best, because you don't really want to send a Geb over to do some split pushing options for that. Maybe Phoenix on the left-hand side, but Kiki ults there, looking for a pick. Couldn't really find it, however. You can see the amount of Magi's cloaks that are starting to be picked up more and more as the season progresses. CC immunity, very important.
It is indeed, and I wouldn't mind even Aqua split pushing outside of andinster, knowing that he has teleport fully upgraded.
That's a good point.
Even though he is
Still
a Geb,
though,
he's
right?
not known for sieging out towers or phoenixes, but he destroys minions, and if you could just get some momentum for your minions to get there closer, that's all you really need.
I was going to say, how upset would you be if a Geb split pushes and takes a Phoenix, right? Aquarius Blink initiates, picks up Joshy, knocks him in the sky, gets a shell from Kiki. Oh, the pressure onto Joshy, but Joshy is still alive. Rewind consumed, and he's back on him. Kiki helping him out again. All the while, Oceans is whacking away on the AMC, and Jeff is slowed down. It's not fun, honey, that. And the bees are causing problems for the side of Space Station Gaming.
5-on-3, LG pushing forward, stunning out Aqua. He's going to be the third victim down, trying to survive as long as he can, but he can't do it. Joshy, though, trying to take out BaRRaCCuDDa, but he's going to survive. Wait, no, the dots got him.
Poison running through his veins, and it's 12-12. LG barreling down the mid lane, and Joshy's player camp gave me an idea that they might be. I was looking at the faces real quick to see if they're making the call to try and end off the back of this.
They might be able to do this, Hindu. Their timing.
No carry.
They have 20 seconds on Venenu and Chef. They're doing it. They're going for it.
And he's already used his dash, so that's on cooldown for a minute. He's got to focus out Oceans. Oceans is an AD carry, and AD carries make short work of objectives and Titans. LG could potentially win game one, and they're going to do so. SSG lose again.
Space Station Gaming can't catch a break. They had the advantage for a majority of that early game, stripping away multiple purple buff invades, but Joshy came out big, and because of that quadra kill, Space Station Gaming, they deviate from their strategy. You could tell there was heavy focus fire on Joshy that last team fight, but just barely able to get off that rewind, maybe 5-10% health. He gets back into the team fight. andinster dives the backline, leaving Venenu exposed. After Venenu dies, 4-on-5, Space Station couldn't hold on.
I'm definitely looking at Joshy for that game, though, because, like you said, the quadra kill so important.
Yes.
That kind of swung the game back to even. Space Station Gaming kind of on the back foot or an even keel. And then Aqua, aggressive, goes for Joshy. I love the idea.
Yeah.
Cataclysm, try and force the beads, force the CC defense. Andy follows up, but they still don't get him.
Expect either a Chronos early pick for Space Station or a ban outright.
Really?
Yeah, after that performance out of Joshy, you
Oh,
gotta
man.
do it. Or you just gotta sit in his lane and
I was
actually gank him.
It's more the team fight stage of how did he get a quadra? How did he slip the net? I don't know how he slipped the net still. I'm still interested to find that
That's
out.
the Chronos. It doesn't matter what happens in
Sneaky.
the early game with all those purple buffs invades. It doesn't matter if you're not actually killing Joshy. That's
Well,
the big deal.
With that, game 1 down. LG take game 1 over SSG. Is this just SSG's year? We'll find out. Let's go to the desk.
Fantastic performance there from Luminosity as we watch their first game go in. Oceans looks good. Kiki looks good. Everybody turned up here. Got to shout out Joshy. Honestly, I'm just here to celebrate LG because this looked strong.
And it's not that SSG looked awful, I don't think either. The start of this game was actually pretty heavily in Space Station's favor. Andinster got off to a pretty strong start, was able to make some great plays happen alongside of Venenu, but it just fell short. Once that 23, 24-minute mark approach came about, it just felt like the team fights is where the steady collapse kept taking place. Huge shout-outs, though, to Luminosity with the Fenrir and the Batz play. I think that the way that molluskk was able to play his Fear No Evil because of those consistent Unchained stuns out of the Fenrir really made it a possibility for Joshy to just put in work on that back line. The Chronos damage was just absurd. And I mean, that quadra kill was honestly, for a rookie, I mean, he's been having a pretty strong season so far.
Like we said, LG individually have a whole lot to prove, and Joshy's sitting here like, yes, I'm a rookie, and that it's factually true. But he's been playing just at the cusp of professional level play for so damn long. He's subbed in. And now he's like, look, I'm a starter, and this is what I can do, baby. Venenu goes down. BaRRaCCuDDa falls down. Just easy peasy. Easy for Joshy. And realistically, you mentioned the beads combination of the Batz, the Fenrir, the Xing comes into play as well. Real good draft from LG, real good execution from LG. And the reason why I came out saying like we're celebrating LG is because SSG played a strong game. LG didn't beat the kid that was already on the floor. This was a great game from SSG up until these last moments where they had to team fight.
Something I can't help but notice, though, the heavy similarity between the two fights that pretty much wound up being Space Station's demise this game. Both took place roughly around the same area of that fire giant pit. It was a little bit deeper into Luminosity's jungle territory right by their blue buff, but I feel like the honey spread, all that slow being applied to multiple targets from Space Station just made it impossible for Jeff to be able to peel for more than one of his carries at a time. There's only so much that a Geb can actually cleanse. He has one shield after all, and then you're on cooldown. And so Luminosity just did an excellent job with their target prioritization. Whoever got that Geb shield, as I hit puberty again, whoever got the Geb shield essentially was safe, but only for a limited time. After that, Luminosity would immediately punish everybody else. You couldn't even make your voice fake crack.
I couldn't. I really tried. But you're right. You are correct there in just how much control really was coming from that one sort of area. And that was why I applauded SSG. That was one of the things that I think that they've done better in this game is going for the Geb to counteract some of the nonsense that they saw. Geb solo for Aquarius is a little bit out of the norm from what we expect out of him, but it was a great choice here. And again, new coach, new mentality. These guys, that's why I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt on Esports Weekly, because I think that they do have some things that they've internalized and perhaps made a little bit better. But they're going to need a little bit more here in game number 2. And I've mentioned a number of things that I liked out of SSG. Here's what I didn't like.